Amidst the vast sea and sky, the submerged islands of the Spratly archipelago in Kanwa province emerge like floating bases, forming a steel shield protecting the officers and soldiers tasked with guarding the sea and islands. Despite living in a very small area with many shortages and living conditions, the soldiers on the submerged islands remain resilient and optimistic, holding fast to the islands together, turning hardships, difficulties, and sacrifices into strength to vigilantly protect the sovereignty of the father. Best video, let. First is the natural condition of this entity. Accordingly, Volatile Reef is a coral formation belonging to the Sinton Atoll of the Spratly Islands. Vietnam currently manages this reef as part of Sinton Commune, Trong Sa District, Kanwa Province. Regarding location, this reef lies over 600 kilometers southeast of Cam Ranh Peninsula and about 296 kilometers northeast of Trong. Within Sinton Atoll, this reef is located about 25 kilometers southwest of Sinton Don Island, about 12 kilometers south of Sinton Island, and about 11 kilometers east. Volatile is considered one of the fatherland's outpost islands in the Spratly archipelago, as it lies very close to all the entities of the Spratly Islands under Vietnam's sovereignty that are illegally occupied and reclaimed by China as artificial islands, or more accurately, illegal military bases of that country. Among them, Volatile Reef is only about 10 kilometers northeast of Dak Ma Reef, where the Spratly naval battle between our forces and China occurred in 1988, and about 19 kilometers southwest of Tu. Positioned at an extremely strategic location in the Spratly archipelago, Volatile is one of the islands with strategic significance in the layout of above-water and submerged islands and is regarded as an important outpost of our. Looking at the map, the three reefs Sinton, Talin, and Volatile form a fire triangle, and this triangle holds a particularly important position in ensuring the Vietnamese Navy's supply routes to military posts in the Spratly Islands, as well as forming an interlocking defense, protecting the Sinton cluster against invasion and alternating occupation by other countries. In essence, Volatile Reef is a coral formation with an oval shape, with a maximum length of about 2 kilometers and a maximum width of about 1. The total area of Volatile Reef is approximately 1.15 square kilometers, or about 115 hectares. This reef is quite. Volatile Reef has no central lagoon. When the tide is low, it rises about. The central area of Volatile Reef has a sandbar that shifts seasonally. In March and April, when the northeast monsoon blows, the sandbar moves to. While when the southwest monsoon blows, the sandbar shifts to. Generally, the weather and climate on Volatile Reef specifically and the Spratly Islands overall are divided into two distinct seasons, the dry season and the rainy season. The dry season lasts from November of the previous year to April of the next year, with average temperatures from 28 to 30 degrees. The rainy season has cooler weather but often features erratic storms and winds that affect the lives and work of the soldiers on the island. Volatile Reef, a historical witness in the 1988 sovereignty campaign. It can be said that names like Dak Ma, County Lin, or Volatile have long become immortal with the heroic epics in the 1988 sovereignty defense campaign by the officers and soldiers of the Vietnam People's Navy. Looking back at history to March 1988, following the orders of the Navy Command regarding the implementation of Mission Bill 88. On the morning of March 10, 1988, Vice Admiral Ja Van Quang, Navy Commander and concurrently Commander of Region 4, resolved to send forces to occupy and protect Dak Ma. Accordingly, ships HQ 604 and HQ 505 received orders to go to. On March 14, 1988, China, with a strong fleet, large numbers, and modern equipment, aggressively sank ship HQ 604 in the Dak Ma Sea area and set fire to landing ship HQ 500. Our ship HQ 505, though on fire, was determined to beach and has held County Lin to. Regarding the events at Dak Ma and County Lin Reefs, 5 Minutes has covered them in detail in 2 previous videos. Returning to Volatile Reef, after executing orders, ship HQ 605, with Captain Leland Sun as the captain, and Lieutenant Fan Hu Dong as the deputy captain, was assigned the task of. From Galvan Island, after 29 hours of secret sea travel, overcoming big waves and strong winds, Ship HQ 605 reached Liddell Island, was ordered and safely brought anchor at 5 a.m. on March. After anchoring, Lieutenant Fan Hu-dong commanded a combat team to urgently disembark onto the island, conduct field reconnaissance, and plant the national flag. About 20 minutes after the combat team from Ship HQ 605 planted the flag on the shore, China's missile frigate No. 502 approached. At the same time, when ships HQ 604 and HQ 505 were fired upon, at 7:50 on the same day, Captain Leland Sun commanded the unit to and Chief Engineer Wang Zhang maneuvering the ship to beach at Liddell Reef. Seeing ship HQ 605 start its engine, China's missile frigate frantically opened fire, causing the entire engine room and cabin of HQ. Captain Leland Sun and Chief Engineer Wang Zhang, though injured, managed. When ship HQ 605 was fired upon, Deputy Captain Fan Hu-dong was taking a thus, he was engulfed by flames from the engine burst and hit by shrapnel in the face, but fortunately, he managed to run out. The soldiers on ship HQ 605 then brought Lieutenant Fan Hu-dong and the wounded onto. They could not find Sergeant Bui Heen. He likely. A few hours later, the soldiers guarding the flag on Liddell Reef managed to reach those who had jumped from the ship and brought the severely wounded onto a boat. And swam to. After nearly 8 hours of swimming at sea, by nearly 4 p.m. on March 14, 1988, the soldiers from ship HQ 605 reached the soldiers on Sinton. But Lieutenant Fan Hu-dong was lost on the swim to the island. Just upon reaching the island, around the same time, ships HQ 931, HQ 671, and HQ 614 was successfully escalated Ma Reef and plotted to seize nearby Liddell and Company Lin Reefs, but were decisively blocked by Vietnam. As for ship HQ 605 in the Liddell Sea area, after being fired upon, it completely sank by 1 month after the naval battle, following the Navy's orders. Colonel Lo En-tu, Chief of Staff of Navy Region 4, Colonel Fan Kong Fan, Commander of Brigade 146, Deputy Regiment Commander and Chief of Staff of the 83rd Engineer Regiment, were assigned the task of directly occupying and building high-skill. China, upon learning of this, sent many warships and small boats to surround. However, this time Vietnam was said to have dispatched 7 Su-22 fighter jets from the mainland for support, forcing Chinese warships to disperse and At 1 a.m. on June 24, 1988, ship HQ 462 successfully beached it. The landing force went ashore to plant the flag, asserting sovereignty and standing. On June 29, 1988, we had constructed a stealth on land. During the construction, some Chinese ships continued to threaten and provoke, at times approaching as close. By July 7, 1988, the engineering force had completed the construction of the stealth house. Subsequently, the structure was handed over to the soldiers of Brigade 146 for management. Current life on Liddell Reef. Currently, at Liddell Reef, the Vietnamese Navy maintains a garrison point in the central area. After multiple constructions and renovations, the architectural complex at Liddell Reef now includes a solid house and a multi-purpose cultural house, about 65. The multi-purpose cultural house at Liddell Reef was newly. Besides serving as a cultural and sports activity center for soldiers and a venue for exchanges and hosting fishermen during storms, the cultural house also functions as a sturdy defensive structure protecting sovereignty at the front line. In addition to the structures, we also blasted coral rocks to clear the northern channel of Liddell Reef, facilitating boat access to the architectural complex. Like other reefs, Liddell Reef has been reinforced to be sturdier and cleaner. The solar and wind energy systems contribute to improving the soldiers' living conditions and training. The island now has a Vietnamese television signal transceiver station, enabling timely updates on news, culture, and society. Additionally, the island has a library with nearly 8,000 books. As a submerged island with steep underwater reefs, accessing Liddell Reef is very difficult. In the early days of garrisoning, food supplies and fresh water entirely depended on supply ships. But in recent years, thanks to large storage tanks, the island has become self-sufficient in meeting 100% of its domestic water needs from rainwater. The soldiers' food mainly consisted of canned and dried goods, but now daily meals are supplemented with fresh vegetables and meat. This is due to the promotion of livestock farming and vegetable production to meet the entire. Overall, compared to before, the living conditions of the soldiers on Landau Reef has significant. With its important location, Landau is also a place where fishermen seek shelter during storms, replenishing fresh water and supplies for their sea journeys. Moreover, as an outpost, Landau Reef coordinates with other islands in the survival cluster, forming a solid interconnected defense, acting as a shield to protect the sea and islands in the eastern. Recognizing this importance over the years, the soldiers here have strictly followed directives and orders from superiors, maintaining high vigilance, being combat ready, and resolutely defending the nation's sea and islands. Today, the traces of the heroic battle have faded with the ocean waves, but in the minds of the island soldiers and the Vietnamese people, this event remains unforgettable. 35 years have passed, and this sea area remains tense with aggressive and provocative actions from the opposing side at Landau Reef, which belongs to our country's sovereignty. Facing China's ambitions and actions that disregard international law, Landau Reef stands firm like a steel shield in the open sea. Together with Colin Island, the soldiers at Landau Reef resiliently brave the storms, day and night looking for Gat Ma, where the previous generation fell in an uneven battle. With high vigilance, combat readiness, and determination to protect every rock and coral reef from the schemes of hostile forces.
Subscribe to the Gian MI Go channel to not miss exciting videos.